Good morning, everyone, and I am Dr. Bona on behalf of IAP Digital Media Team. I welcome you all to today's webinar. The topic for today is toilet ergonomics, impact of poor lavatory habits on gut health. And we have Dr. Vishwaraj as our eminent speaker today. And the webinar is being organized by IAP Physiotherapy Women's Cell Goa State. And it is also being live streamed on our official YouTube channel, IAP India. Now, without wasting much time, I would like to hand over to Dr. Pooja.
Good morning, one and all. I, Dr. Pooja Asgaonkar, would like to welcome you all for today's webinar on very interesting topic of toilet ergonomics, impact of poor lavatory habits on gut health, organized by IAPWC Goa team. Today, we have among us Dr. Vishwaraj Maharshekar to enlighten us on very important topic. On behalf of IAPWC, I take an immense pleasure to welcome you, Dr. Vishwaraj. Without wasting much time, I'll start with the doctor's introduction. Dr. Vishwaraj Maharshekar is the Senior Manager for Medical and SH Department at Goa Shipyard Limited, Ministry of Defense, Government of India, with 10 years and more of an occupational medicine experience. He is the president of Indian Medical Association, Bardes, Goa. He secured his MBBS degree from the renowned Goa Medical College and Hospital and Masters in Hospital Administration and Postgraduate Diploma in Environmental and Occupational Health and Associate Fellowship in Industrial Health from the Directorate General of Factory Advice, Services and Labor Institutes, Ministry of Labor and Employment, Government of India. Having a keen interest in research in the field of occupational health and has presented several research papers at national and international conferences. He also has several scientific publications in indexed international journals to his credit. He has co-authored a book on ergonomics for healthcare professionals. He is a recipient of the prestigious Young Researchers Travel Award from Japan Society of Occupational Health and was also awarded the Best Scientific Research Paper Presentation for Annual Conference of Indian Medical Association, JIMACON 2021. We welcome you, Doctor, for today's session. I request you to kindly start with today's topic of webinar.
Good morning to all. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Doctor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction. The topic for today is toilet ergonomics, an impact of poor lavatory habits on gut health. Let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Vishwaraj Maharshekar, Senior Occupational Medicine and Industrial Health Consultant. I work with Goa Shipyard Limited, and I'm also the President of Indian Medical Association. The topic today that we have chosen is a very less research topic, but it is a topic which touches all the lives every day from all age groups. So when we talk about toilet ergonomics, the first thing what comes to our mind is what is ergonomics. Ergonomics is basically a science which dates back to centuries ago. It comes from a Greek word, ergos meaning labor or work, and nomics meaning rules of work. So in literal meaning, it means that it is a law of working. OSHA defines ergonomics as a science, designing a job to fit the worker instead of forcing the worker to fit the job. So when we talk about any process or any function that is taking place, it has to be done in such a way that a person is made comfortable to do that particular work and is not compromised to do that particular work. Ergonomic is a multidisciplinary science. It includes anatomy, the physiology, the body mechanics, biomechanics, psychology, and statistics. So when all these fields come together, we get a applied concept called as ergonomics. It ensures that the design complements the strengths and abilities of the people and minimizes the effect of their limitations. The toilet has saved many lives from the time it has been invented, and it is one of the best inventions that mankind has ever made. It is done so by providing with clean waste removal and appropriate sanitation. Coming to the evolution of toilets, ancestors have relieved themselves first initially on the flat grounds, leaving feces everywhere, affecting the dwellings. Later on, there was the development of the feces pit, which ideally led to the limited area of defecation so that it could optimize the total living environment. This was later on followed by something called as a squat toilet, which is a basic toilet style and has been followed up till now. Then later on, we have further advanced to a more modern day toilet, which are called as the sit toilets. The universal principle of toilet design. Whenever we are designing a toilet, it follows the basic universal principles. The first one being cleanliness, the second one being comfort, and the last one being health. When we talk about cleanliness, toilet have been evolved right from the holes in the ground to high-tech self-sanitizing entities which are used nowadays. As we know, as we talk about comfort, the toilet was first just a basic sit type, so now it has become a stool type, which can reduce the stress on our knee joints whenever we are using it, especially more helpful towards the middle age and the older people who are finding it difficult to squat in the lavatories. So last comes the health. The modern toilet has been designed in such an ergonomic way that the concepts of the traditional toilets are used in, as well as the normal way of defecation is not affected. So yes, posture does matter. That is the reason why we are having the webinar today. This is the traditional squatting style. It is the most primitive way of human defecation. It is the most simple ergonomic principles, and it basically deals with a footstep size of the toilet and the relative position of squatting posture. But this is supposedly the best design and the most efficient one for the human digestive system for eliminating waste. There are a few issues with the squat toilet as well. When the people are squatting, the knees joint bears most of the weight and struggles to keep the body part balanced in coordination with the calf muscles. There is a continuous exertion of the knee calves when using the squat toilets. This results in a lot of pain, and it makes it difficult to stand up suddenly when you are squatting. This is more difficult for people who are elderly and who are having issues with their knee joints. Secondly, standing up too quickly whenever you are squatting for a long time, it can cause a certain condition called as a transient cerebral ischemia. We call it as TIAs in elderly or comorbid patients, and therefore leads to accidents like falls, fractures, and so on. So these are some of the issues with the squat toilet. But the merits of squat toilets are more than the drawbacks. The squatting defecation, it conforms to the normal physiological structure. And the defecation in this way is one of the smoothest. In the squatting posture, the muscles are more relaxed, which can be explored from the angle called as the anorectal angle. This is an angle which is the physiological origins for the proper defecation from the human system. The greater the angle is, the more straight is the rectum and the smoother is the defecation. In addition to this, whenever we are squatting, what happens is that we are squeezing the abdomen towards the knees, towards the thighs. So this again pushes the feces and thus helps partly relieve the symptoms of difficult defecation. Coming to the modern style, also known as the sit style. The people will feel more comfortable when defecating in a sitting posture than in a squatting posture. But this is a more time consuming and a more energy consuming method. It has certain demerits, definitely. Comfort is the bigger merit of sitting style, but the demerits are that the anorectal angle, which is there, it cannot be adjusted effectively, resulting in the feces being blocked in the rectum. by the rectal muscles. As you can see the pictorial depiction on the right, whenever we're sitting, there is a band which pulls the anorectal angle and it makes it a little bit more acute. Whereas when we are squatting, the anorectal angle is released. It becomes a little bit more bigger. So whenever we are sitting on a comfortable toilet, what happens is that we are squeezing on this anorectal angle, which is leading it to further making it more difficult for the defecation process. Secondly, sitting on the toilet is more comfortable. So what we do is people usually use their cell phones, they try to read books or newspapers when defecating, which further prolongs the time of defecation. This is a comparison between the sitting method and the squatting method. I described something called as an angle, which is the anorectal angle. So whenever we are sitting, the angle over here is reduced because there is pressure by a band, which is called as the puborectalis muscle. But whereas when we are squatting, the pressure is released and it comes in the normal physiological curvature of the human body. So it makes defecation a little bit more easier. Now, the most important thing in day to day is using of the mobile phones when using the lavatory. The most common scenario day to day. What happens when we use a mobile phone? Whenever we are using a phone or any device, or we are reading anything, there is a distraction in the attention span. So what happens is the signals which are sent to the brain by the gastrointestinal tract are weakened. So as a result of this, what happens is that there is a delay between the signals which reach the brain and then which come back again to the gastrointestinal peristalsis, which helps in the motion of the gut. Ideally, one should not sit in the toilet for more than 10 minutes, but whenever we are using a cell phone or any other device, or we are reading a newspaper or a book, we tend to extend the time to around 20 to 30 minutes, which can affect the process very badly. And another big risk of using a smartphone is that we are invariably contaminating it with fecal organisms. What can happen is that in the long run, it may lead to constipation. It may also lead to hemorrhoids. Finally, sitting versus squatting, which one is the better method? Now, the modern seats, whatever we are having, they are more encouraged for a seated posture. So, but if we go to see ergonomically, squatting is comparatively better than sitting. What happens when squatting is the muscles which are there in and around the area, they help to reducing the kink and thus result in a straight through position that is free of obstruction. And this particular position helps in the smooth bowel elimination. If we go to see this, this is the typical this is a typical section of our colon. So the areas which are marked in gray are the ones where more than 80% of the cancers develop. So whenever we are using the lavatory in a sitting position, these positions are the place. These places are the ones where our excreta is not pushed out completely. So this results in a lot of accumulation of feces over there. Whereas whenever we are squatting, the squatting position, it helps in relaxing the puborectalis muscle, which is a muscle which is present as a band down over there. And it straightens the rectum down, which helps in easy evacuation. So coming to redesigning of an ergonomic toilet, what exactly do we need in an ergonomic toilet? First, we need to know that the toilet posture is the one which attributes, along with other factors such as dietary habits, to conditions such as chronic constipation, hemorrhoids, colitis, appendicitis, and colon cancer. Based on the body posture while using the toilet becomes an important factor to consider in order to redesign the existing toilet seat. Finally, there is something which is a solution and which is definitely a very simple solution. We have something called as the squat toilet stools. Okay, these are a natural and an inexpensive solution to this problem. What happens is whenever we are using this tool, it helps in decreasing the angle between the knees and above the hips. So the angle becomes a little acute, and automatically it increases the anolateral angle. This posture, particularly by keeping a footstool below your leg, helps to mimic the squat posture and helps to get in line properly with the colon, which means that the correct anolateral angle is maintained during elimination. This is a clear demarcation between the two ways of defecation. One is when you're sitting, and one is when you're sitting with a squatting stool. What happens is that, as you can see in the diagram below, the anorectal angle when we are sitting is more acute. This, as we see that the muscle which is around the rectum, it tries to pull in and it tries to choke the contents. Whereas whenever we are increasing the anorectal angle, automatically what happens is it relaxes, the squatting posture relaxes the puborectalis muscle, and it helps in easy elimination. People who use footstools have also their body weight, which is borne by the toilets, which brings an upward force on the hip. So ergonomically speaking, this is a good solution, but not a 100% solution to the problem, because whenever we are squatting, we are directly pressing the abdomen towards the thighs. So this pressure itself helps us in further easing the process of defecation. However, whenever we are resting on a toilet or where you are sitting, the entire force of the hip is on the toilet seat. Therefore, this results still in a part YouTube in the puborectalis muscle being in a state of tension still. This method can effectively solve the problem of defecation in a sitting posture using a squat stool. So in conclusion, although using what defecation posture is more of a question about personal choice, the ideal position still stands that squatting is the best position when the thighs are flexed upon the abdomen. The toilets can be more humanized and fitted with more ergonomic principles with slight modifications. So here we basically know that whenever we are using a squat stool, we are trying to maintain and mimic the physiological procedure as that of squatting. But there are still a few modifications that need to be done. So basically this modification, whatever are need to be done, have to be done at the anorectal angle, such that the level of muscle straining, which is the fundamental key for easy defecation, is made better. And finally, the entire thing should be suitable to the age and also to the person who's using it. So it has to be designed in such a way that it makes the effort less, as well as it ergonomically helps to maintain our body posture while during the process of defecation. So there are a number of new designs that are coming up nowadays, but till now, the most efficient and the most cost-effective way is using a squat toilet stool till we get into a highly advanced or a better ergonomically designed toilet stool. These are my references which I have used. There are very less studies which are done on this particular topic, but I've tried to explore most of them. Finally, I would like to thank all of you all for giving me an opportunity. I guess I have made things a bit simpler with this and given a little more room for further evaluation and further research towards this particular topic of toilet ergonomics, which is very less looked upon, but is very important in our day-to-day practice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. It was very knowledgeable, since the topic has not been covered much, as you said, but the information which you provided was surely enlightening us and surely will be helpful for us also to spread in the general population. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I would like to request Dr. Lavi, I guess, yeah, Dr. Riddhi, to take up the question and answer session.
Yeah. The first question for the day is, in conditions where squatting is prohibited, like post TKR, can doctor suggest any modification in position without affecting knee position?
Absolutely. See, whenever we are not having, see, for TKR, basically, if you are using a high flex joint, that is the only place where you can do squatting. Okay, which is usually TKR is taken up by elderly people, so squatting is kind of out of question. But if the person has to maintain this particular this thing, then the best thing would be to use a squat stool, but see that the height of the squat stool it's adjusted such that there is no much effect on the knee. And secondly, the person can also bend a bit forward so that automatically you can kind of decrease the angle. Finally, it is the angle, acute angle between the abdomen and the hips, between the abdomen and your thighs. So if you try to bend a bit forward, automatically the angle will become a little bit more lesser and thus help in increasing the anorectal angle that way. And it will serve the purpose.
Thank you, doctor.
Yes.
I don't think there are any further questions. So
there is one more question, Dr. Riddhi.
I'm unable to see.
Okay, the question is, if a person is already suffering from piles or hemorrhoids, squatting is still advisable, or a person should go for more often sitting posture?
Sitting would still be better because squatting is not much advisable in such conditions. However, they have to also take care of their parent condition, such as taking laxatives whenever if there are hemorrhoids. So then taking laxatives and seeing that the hemorrhoids are treated medically first, and then on shifting on to squatting position. But sitting would be more preferable with taking care of the parent medical condition. That is what we would recommend in this particular case.
Thank you, doctor. The next question is, can bending forward in TKR patients help when it works against cavity?
Absolutely. Bending will definitely help. It will work because see, he's already using the sit style. That is the normal. So he's basically, yeah. So basically, he's going to use the normal sit style toilet only in case of a TKR. But bending forward will automatically decrease the angle between the abdomen and the thighs, which will help in easy defecation.
Thank you, doctor.
Yes.
Doctor, one more question we have is, nowadays, since the even pediatric age group, the kids have started using the sit position or the modern toilets. What can be a long-term effect of it, or what can be the side effects or the disadvantage of using it?
See, as I've already mentioned that the sitting posture or the normal, see for kids, there are special sit toilets that are available. Okay, they have certain steps for them to get on and then sit. So these steps could act as a squat stool for them. If you just check on the latest, if you go to any consumer website and if you just check for something called as a potty training stool or a potty stool, which can be used up till the age of say around 5 to 6 years. So in this particular stool, what we have to do, it mimics a normal toilet seat, whereas it has got steps for them to walk on and to hold on. So whenever the kid is sitting, he can use the highest step which is there. So that will automatically mimic a squat position for us. Because nowadays the concept of squat toilets is going out and we are getting in more of sitting toilets. So to adjust to that, the best way is to help to inculcate such a habit which mimics the squatting habit, because at the end of the day, all the lavatories nowadays are of sit type only. And as far as effects, definitely squatting helps in easy evacuation of the stools, whereas sitting does not. So long-term effects should be there over the long, meaning it could be in terms of chronic constipation, it could be in terms of hemorrhoids. So these are associated factors, but there have to be other medical related factors also to play, such as the diet, which plays a very important role in all such conditions, any irritable bowel disease or anything. So there are other factors like stress, which all together play an impact on the total final outcome of this particular condition.
Thank you so much, doctor.
Sir, how about patients suffering from PIVD where bending forward is prohibited?
See, such patients should not bend forward. In fact, they should use a squat stool, which is of a slightly higher height. So they don't need to bend forward. So automatically, see, finally, the concept is that the angle has to be reduced. So you can reduce it in either of the ways. So there are the two arms of the angle. You either push your legs on top or you push your abdomen ahead. So whichever is convenient, please do it. And whichever is medically advisable for you, please do it.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
I guess there are no other questions now. So.
Thank you so much, doctor. Now I request Dr. Lavi to please go ahead with the vote of thanks.
Am I audible now?
Yeah, Dr. Lavi, just a minute. There is a question in the chat box. One more question.
Okay.
Dr. Riddhi?
Yes, the question is, can the position of stool bit away from the lavatory helps? If yes, here the anorectal angle is not reduced.
See, the thing is that whenever you are using a stool, if it is positioned away from the lavatory, it will not make any sense, because the stool has to be positioned, as I showed pictorially in the presentation. It has to be kept as closer to the lavatory as possible, because that is the only way where the angle will be, anorectal angle will be increased.
Got it, sir. Thank you. Yeah.
Can I continue?
Yes, Dr. Lavi.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Good morning, one and all. I, Dr. Lavi Jain from IAP Women's Cell Goa State Team, would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Vishwaraj K. Mahalskar for giving valuable talk to our IAPWC Goa branch on toilet ergonomics, impact of poor lavatory habits on gut health. We are obliged to have you with us for taking out your time and giving us such a wonderful presentation through this webinar. Would like to thank all the delegates for making this webinar a successful event. I would like to thank the whole IAP team of IAP Women's Cell Goa for organizing this. Last but not least, I thank the IAP technical team for the support, Dr. Pooja Kamble ma'am, Dr. Sanjeev Jha sir, Dr. Ruchi Vaishnav ma'am for providing us with this virtual platform to reach out to the entire physiotherapy community. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you everyone for being there here in the session. And this webinar was live streamed on our official YouTube channel, IAP India. To remain updated with the latest events and webinars, please like and subscribe us on all our social media platforms.